Welcome to episode 25 of the Racket House podcast, where we discuss all things music and success in our fun corner of the world, helping to inspire, inform, educate, motivate, and keep hope alive for musicians, creatives, entrepreneurs, and anyone else who wants to grow their brand in the music or creative spaces. Today's guest is the Grahame Farmer. He's the founder of Data Transmission, one of the longest-running independent platforms in electronic music, which started as a blog in 2008 and has since grown into a global ecosystem that includes multiple record labels, a radio station with more than 180 shows, and a worldwide community of DJs, producers, and music fans. Over the past 2 decades, Grahame has helped hundreds of artists reach new audiences through premieres, releases, editorial coverage, and artist development. He's also the creator of the Artist Blueprint, a program that's helped thousands of artists build stronger careers and grow their audiences online. His YouTube channel has over 50,000 subscribers, where he shares industry insights, demo feedback, and practical advice for artists navigating today's music landscape. And in 2025, he released his book, Gather, Give, Grow, which became an Amazon #1 bestseller and focuses on how artists can turn attention into real fans and sustainable careers. Today, we're going to talk about building audiences, the realities of the modern music industry, and what actually separates artists who grow from the ones who stay stuck. Welcome, author, best-selling author, podcaster, all the above, jack of all trades, and industry expert, Grahame. Welcome to the show.
Hello, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
I'm great. This is actually a first for the Racket House podcast. You know what the first would be?
No, go author.
No, actually, my last guest was an author as well, a psychologist.
English person.
English speaking person. No. Yeah, first guest from across the pond, the Atlantic pond. I've had guests from across the other pond, the Pacific pond.
Nice.
So yes, first English person. Thank you so much for being here. I've been a fan of your work, and I like to have on guests who I'm actually genuinely inspired by. And I've been hovering around your ecosystem, I guess, for a long time. I've been a fan of the Data Transmission radio show and podcast for a while. I used to manage some artists that were actually featured on your radio show. We had some features on your blog and your website. And just in general, when I see your posts and your content and you sharing wins or inspirational stories, or even, I think you posted something this past year around how you failed the artist or something like that, and it was a very humble, vulnerable moment in post, and I really appreciated that. And it's clear that you've made a really big impact on the industry, because when people talk about you or when they comment on your posts, it's all positive. There's never any hate. There's never anything negative. And I really appreciate what you've been doing for artists in this industry, and that's what we'll talk about. Your secret sauce today, right?
Yeah, let's do it. Thank you. That's really cool. Yeah, I do wish there's some people like push. I like a bit of pushback on a comment. I don't mind a bit of pushback. So, yeah, pushback sometimes. Like I think it's cool pushing back.
I think it's good. I mean, it's interesting to have. I wouldn't say hater. What do they say? You've made it when you have haters or something like that, right? So what kind of pushback do you want? I mean, do you want people to sort of call you on stuff, or?
No, just like a bit of a, I don't know, just like I always think like if someone's doing something differently, then let's just hear about it, because then everyone learns. Like if someone's got a different way of doing something, then comment, man, and because I'm still learning all the time. For the Artist Blueprint, I literally live and breathe everything we put in there, because I'm testing everything all the time. I saw a post, somebody else comment on thing that it's not just about consistency, it's kind of consistency plus experimentation goes forward. And I thought that was, it's something I've always done, like experiment and fail, and like I'm a big fan of that. Like we actually have a staff member at the moment who's literally failing on building something as many times as he fails until he gets it right, and that's his job is to fail on finding a solution to this problem, and he can fail as many times as he's like, and we're literally like, just if he gets no views on something, then that's a failure, but that's a good, because that means that ticks it off the box. So
yeah,
I'm a big fan of like experimenting and testing stuff and suck it and see what happens,
Absolutely. I mean, that's the sort of spirit of marketing, right? And we artists hate the term, right, marketing, but I mean that's really what it is. And I share a lot of your same philosophies. You know, I'm not trying to steal from you, but you know, marketing is a testing ground, right? And you have to sort of test until you know it works, do more of the stuff that works, and throw away the stuff that doesn't work.
Exactly.
And you brought up the artist blueprint. So tell us about the artist blueprint. What is it? Who's it for? What kind of success stories have you seen there?
So I started it 5 years ago, 5 years ago actually, yeah, 5 years ago, and essentially it's a course product that essentially I was doing one-to-one coaching for like 6 years before that. I started working with an artist, a young artist called Ben Sterling, a long, long time ago, like 11
Big
years ago,
fan.
and essentially, literally, I worked with him solely for like 3 years, helping him get his music, helping him with social, kind of just like being a sounding board for like, oh, that track didn't get signed, or we're trying to get pitched to this label, and like I'm forever grateful for that time because essentially, like I learned so much
Mm.
just working with one artist all the time, and just again like failing loads of times, and then. One summer, we sent some tracks to Jamie Jones. Like I'd known Jamie from like I met him at Snowbombing in 2011, and we were always trying to pitch doing stuff from a DT point of view, like for Hot Creations and covering Hot Creations and Hot Tracks. And I'm a massive fan of those labels. And then he just
Me
like
too.
started playing five of Ben's tracks over one summer, and it was like it became this big kind of meme that he was like this like another Ben Sterling ID, and it was just all in one summer. And he literally skyrocketed Ben, and then all of a sudden since then he's just like taken off. And I always like whenever he's doing something cool, you see it on social, and you just like cheering from afar. And without that, I just like it really unlocked a lot of stuff inside me. And I think like I didn't really know that I knew how to do a lot of that stuff, and but
Mm.
it's stuff that I've been doing for years from a data transmission point of view, and I didn't really know, like the contacts I had, the network I had, like kind of sending tracks to every house music label. I knew them all because we were working with them from a data transmission point of view because we literally work with every label. And so then you've got all those contacts and you're like, well, can I get a track signed to this label? Well, yeah, I can because I know that person.
Mm.
And how do I make, and we were doing all the social media. I've been doing social media for DT. So I kind of like was watching a lot of social media and going, well, you should try doing this and you should try doing that. And that helped him as well. And then like some of the other stuff from like Spotify, and like we were doing all that for data transmission for our own tracks there. So it was like I test everything, and I like nothing goes in the course now without me testing it. And so basically, yeah, we did that. I did it with him for 3 years. And then at the end of that 3 years, I started my Instagram and my YouTube channel. And I was just like, started putting out stuff like, if Ben was struggling with all this stuff, then other DJs and producers must be doing the same. Like it was a full on like aha moment, like, you
Right.
know, take on me. Like, and
What were some of the things that you found to be common problems that
like
artists were struggling with?
it was just like a lot of the things is there's still the stuff we do today. So like getting music signed, growing your artist brand, like everything essentially after you've made music and learned to DJ. Those
Mhm.
two, obviously that's the product, learning to DJ and making music. Everything else, the industry side of running a business, being in the music industry, getting music signed, getting gigs, growing an audience, growing a fan base, then turning that into something that then buys tickets and streams your music, and like literally that the music part of the business part of the music business, like
Yeah.
that's everything we teach in the artist blueprint. And so I was working with Ben, and then Ben went off to do his thing, and cool. I always think like I'm that point from like bedroom to touring to management. And once you get to management, then you're off. That's somebody else's job. And like, best of luck
Yeah.
and happy days. But I'm always here. Like I saw one of my next students at the weekend, and he's now got a manager. And he was just like, I'm struggling with my social. Can I talk about it? And I was like, yeah, we were just sort of chatting about ideas. So yeah, I worked with Ben, and then we did I did that, put content out for a year of literally no ask, just literally a whole year of just putting out helpful content. Like it was proper, like, you know, if you've seen Gary Vee's jab, 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 left hook, right hook, it was all the jabs and none of the
Hmm.
hooks. Like it was
Hmm.
literally like for 9, 10, 11 months, I put out free content. And then at the end of the year, I just went, well, I'm going to do coaching for 10 people starting in the following year. And I'm going to take 10 people on. And if you want to apply, comment a word and I'll message you the details. And 250 applied straight away.
Wow.
And we were like, oh fuck, this is a lot. Like wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you're like, well, how many I said 10 because I was really thinking if I get 5, then I'll be happy. Like,
Sure.
or if I get 1, I'll be happy. But I said,
Yeah.
and then you're like, well, this is a legitimate business and people need my help. Can I fit any more in? Because if I could do 20, then I could do 20 sort of thing. But I don't want any more because I don't want to stretch myself.
Right.
And then we started working with a load through the following year and doing one-to-one. And then kind of COVID happened and we carried, like I was doing one-to-one all through COVID because there were still lots of DJs and they still want to grow their brands. And
more
now
DJs from COVID.
Right. Yeah.
COVID birthed DJs.
Right, exactly, and I actually had I actually was running an ad strategy in COVID that was like targeting people that if you were a DJ but you also worked at a supermarket because they were the only ones that really working, and I picked up a few more clients that way. But at the same time, all that's happening. At the same time, I'm still doing data transmission. Me and my other half, Shelley, run data transmission, and now we've got some actual help as well now. But from there, like, it got to a ceiling point. You can only help so many people per week, and you can only help this amount of people. And also you end up saying the same thing over and over and over again. And it was getting a bit like, I've just told this person. I had a call and I told one person, and I had another call and I told the same person the same thing. And I was just like, I've just repeated myself. So then I did a course. There's a really great YouTuber called Sunny Lenarduzzi. She's absolutely killer on building courses. And she was really good on YouTube, teaching us to use YouTube and use YouTube as a platform. But then, and I was watching her from a YouTube point of view, and then I did her course, absolute killer. And then from there, I built the Artist Blueprint and built the course. And then I've been doing that for 5 years and evolving it and kind of making it better and better and better. And right now we're going to go into a period where for the next few months, we're going to rebuild a lot of the sections and even make it even better. And look at every part of from every part of the structure, basically, so that it just becomes the best platform available. And now it's still the same. Like, it's still, for me, it's always about trying to get an artist from one point, which a big chunk of those is from their bedrooms to touring the world. That is definitely one point. Like, and if you can get them from that point to the management and to a booking agent, then you've done, that's the job done. And it's always about those transformations and trying to get that, like, can I help you grow more streams? Can I help you, get more monthly listeners? And some people come in and go, I don't want to be DJing. I'm a father. I've got kids, or I'm a mother. I've got kids. I can't be on the road, but I do want more people listening to my music. I do want more people hearing it. And then that's a different strategy to the person that comes in and goes, I want to be a DJ. I want to be out touring. I want to be 3 or 4 gigs a week. I want to be playing with the biggest labels. I want to be on the top of the bills. And it's about understanding each person's journey and each person's transformation, and then helping them get that transformation so they get to the next phase of where they're getting to, and understanding their goals and structuring those so that they go forward, and trying to build a platform that helps them do that at the same time as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty incredible. I mean, what would you say are some of the key differences between, artist A who says, I just want people to hear my music, which I hear a lot, and then I say, okay, then what? Once they hear your music, then what happens? Versus touring DJ, want to be top of the bill, things like that. Like, what are some of the key differences in how you work with those artists?
So I say artist. If artist A is the one that just wants, they're happy making music. They have got a really like, a lot of them have got a really cool job. They don't want to leave their job. They don't want a career in music. They just want more people hearing their music. So then it's about like the strategy that builds their SoundCloud, their Spotify, and maybe their content strategy, so that they're, getting more eyeballs on them, and therefore then people go and find their music and stream it. And then also more eyeballs on their streaming. So it's about building out their Spotify, building out kind of like what the playlist they're working, and kind of looking at how they're kind of growing the reach of those streams and how they're growing the monthly listeners. And then maybe it's about looking at which collabs they're going to work with and for the future releases, so then it's growing their audience. And then looking at their content strategy and going, right, your content strategy is not about gigs, it's about people listening to your music. So then it's about working on a content strategy that firstly fits their time, their life, their kind of like, where they want to be, but not where they are now. So like, I always think there's 3 layers of content. Like, one that's where you're comfortable and you're going to post that same stuff. And then there's this zone, which is like, then there's the kind of absurd zone where it's like the stupid zone that they're never going to do. But then there's a little zone in between, which I kind of call the stretch zone, where you're just outside your comfort zone. You're just pushing yourself and trying to do stuff that you probably wouldn't want to do. But if someone give you a little nudge, you do it, and it would then get the results you're trying to get to. If we can get them in that zone where they're making the content they're just a little bit afraid to make, but also if they make it, it gets the results thereafter, then happy days.
Do you have examples of maybe some stretch content? Obviously, it's different for everybody, but maybe, an artist that you worked with, you don't have to name names, but where they were kind of in the comfort zone and you pushed them a little bit to get to that stretch area and what that was and how that worked.
I mean, we're working with one at the moment. There's a guy that we work with in the course platform where he's basically just found. He went home to his mum's and he found loads of mix CDs that he made in the 90s. And he's literally got like 26 mix CDs. So essentially, if he puts one out every 2 weeks, he's got a year's worth of content. And each one of those mix CDs has probably got 15 tracks on them because it's back in the 90s, maybe 12 to 15. So each mix has got maybe 12 pieces of content. And he was just going to go, I've done a new mix, it's out now. And we were like, well, no one cares who you are. You need to start telling these stories of when you were when you're making the mix. And he was like, he doesn't like being on camera. He doesn't want to talk to camera. And the first one where he literally came in and went, he had some really good B-roll. And we were like looking at it and going, it's still a bit boring, mate. Like people aren't going to watch it. You'll kind of watch it, but you're not going to get the views you want. You're going to need to just really change this story. We were trying to I kind of asked them. We have group calls and it's group mentoring, and I'm like, just what was happening? Where were you when you used to go and buy records? Where were you when you started buying these CDs? Why were you making these CDs right at the start? Like, what was the point? And he was like, well, it was to get more gigs, and but also it was kind of, that was the thing you did back in the 90s. You would go and hand them out at the end of the thing to end of club nights to go and build more audience, or you take them down the record store. And I used to take a big stack down one record store because I knew that they would always go from that store because the people in there liked the music, and there was always gone. There was never always my CDs were always gone, and I built a nice little crowd just from that one record store. And I was like, okay, well let's pull on that string a little bit more. Let's see what else is along that story. And you start pulling this story out, and then it was then trying to get that story into something where it makes sense in a short form content. It's not boring. It's punchy, but still, the way you're telling it and your way you're telling the story is still the best way for storytelling. And we kind of have these five line strategy where it's you start telling where you are, and then you start them, and then there's maybe a problem that you come across, and essentially then you're starting building out this story. And that was really stretched for him because he was like, I'm not sure, but I'll go away and try it. If you say it's going to work, I believe you. He did that, and he posted. He's got about 1,500 followers on Instagram. He's got about 700 on TikTok. And he got about 5,500 views on Instagram, first piece of content. And then on TikTok, he got maybe 50,000 views for this one piece of content because he wrote this, because the story was really, really cool. You were in there with it. You wanted to know about the CD. I think, it built a bit of a kind of, I should go and listen to this mix. Yeah. And then the next one, he's like, right, well, I've got that. I can only do that once, really. And we're like, no, you can do that many times. We just need to think about the stories for this next CD and what was happening at the time. And, this was a little bit later in the 90s. What was going on in the world? It's trying to really, really just delve back into each one. And then it was like, well, what other tracks are in the record? And he was like, oh, there's a track. He started telling us about one track in this mix. And we were like, mate, look at your face. You're literally like buzzing by telling us about this story, about this one track. You've got all this energy about this one track. Just talk to the camera and tell that same view. And he was like, I don't like talking to the camera. I always look a bit sad, but look at your face. You're on the Zoom. You're all lit up by it. This is the stuff you want to put on social media because it lightens you up. So it's going to lighten other people up because it's interesting and weird. And everyone in the group call was like, mate, this is wicked story. So we got him to stretch and put that out, and then that's had a load more, thousands of more views, and it's kind of growing his account, but also growing is he's not as scared. Yeah, definitely. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, that is thank you for sharing that. That is an amazing story, and it's because we're going through this unnatural process of putting ourselves out there, getting in front of the camera. Maybe we're not used to public speaking or storytelling. We're great at making music or performing. But that is probably one of the biggest challenges in what we do. But a good story goes a long way. And like, obviously, if you can connect and resonate with your audience, your target audience, they're going to be more likely to follow you and latch onto that story and to listen to your stuff. And that's great. And that sounds like that's something that you probably deal with a lot, right? Kind of the pushing people forward to lean in. I like to say, you know, I like to help artists lean into excitement, right? Because if it excites them, they're going to be more likely to do it, right? And so finding those things, like you were able to uncover those stories, those moments in their lives that they get excited to talk about.
But also, even if you do dumb shit, like if you like the amount of times, like my daughter's, she's 14, she's like, "Oh my god, you never guess what happened, or this happened, this happened," and I'm like, "Yeah, but at least you got a fun story out of it." And
Yeah.
and like my other kids are older, and they're 20 in their 20s, and they're like, "Went out this wild night," and it's like, and then we're like, "Yeah, but listen, like at least you got a fun story out of it. Like you're not gonna get a fun story like sat at home."
Yeah.
You're going to maybe get something else, maybe get a better career, but you are going to get fun stories are always the one, like it's always about the fun story at the end of the day. You're going to keep telling that for time because it is stupid and have been dumb, but also it's pretty funny at the end of the day once you've got over the embarrassment.
Yeah. That's like one of those, things you put on your wall at home where it's like, live the story you want to tell or something like that. Right.
100%.
So, okay. So going back to, building streams and then building the touring career, what would you be talking about with the artist who wants to build that touring career?
So for touring career, like there's a big myth that you kind of need to have releases, and you need to be doing so much. You need to have this, and it depends on the size of the artist. If you're a really small artist and you're really starting the career, like you can get gigs. You just need to know who's booking the gigs. Like, and if you make a spreadsheet of like, it sounds really nerdy, but if you make a spreadsheet and go and find all the people that are actually putting the party on and actually actually go, here's a mix. I'm probably great for your party. Like, not in that way, but maybe like, actually asking, are you booking the shows? Is there any gigs? Can I play? The amount of times that people have got gigs because they're not on bills because they've not asked is ridiculous. And if you start making a list, but also actually finding the person booking the party, and it's probably not the club venue, they're probably hiring a promoter, and they're finding the actual promoter that's putting on the party, and then going and networking with that person and continuously doing it. And if you made a spreadsheet of like 100 people playing in your country or your area of the country or your state or just your city, for instance, and started building out that list and going, right, I know everyone. I know every party from the really, really tiny 200 cap, 150, 200 cap ones to the 10,000 people ones. If you knew all of those and started really pitching and really building on what they're going to land on when they come and check you out. Is your brand look good? Do your socials look good? Is there loads of content you actually DJing? Because if they land on a page and there's no videos of you DJing and there's no kind of proof of you DJing, then are you really a DJ? Even if you say you are, is there a really good SoundCloud mix that you can and a regular SoundCloud mix you can start sending out and going, this is my new show, this is my new this is my new CD, go and check it out. So you're really being constant. You're going to get gigs, and you're going to get gigs over some people that don't ask, because there are a ton of great producers and a ton of DJs that just think they just don't ask, and they won't ask, or they don't put the effort into go and ask. And then you'll get gigs. And then the other side of that is like, can you put your own gigs on? There's a lot of people, there's a lot of parties closing down, a lot of clubs closing down. Like this populous thing at the moment where you're putting on parties in coffee shops and pizza places and obscure places that hold 50 people. It's incredibly difficult to get 50 people to go anywhere. Yes. Whenever you put a party on, you'll find that out. Yeah. And if you can get 50 people into a pizza place or a coffee shop, and then you can do it again, and then you can do it again, then you're going to get more bookings because you've got something of your own. So, start building that. And also, if you did do that, you get tons of really good content because it will just look vibey and it'll packed. And 50 people in a space looks packed and it looks busy.
Hopefully it's a small space. Yeah. Yeah. So,
Exactly.
okay. So you're sort of rattling off a lot of different tactics, right? And it's funny that a lot of the stuff seems obvious to me. First of all, love a spreadsheet. I'm a big spreadsheet guy. I've made lists on lists with artists, helping them figure out who do we talk to? How do we get into where we want to go? Landing on a page and being blatantly obvious who you are and what you're about, right? I had an artist message me, today or yesterday, whatever it was. And he's like, I need a manager. I'm ready for a manager, whatever. And I go to his page and it says like personal trainer and like wellness coach, or like it didn't say anything about music. And I'm like, are you an artist? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, I hate to say this, I say this with love, but like you want to attract a manager, they land on your page, they're going to scroll right past you. They're not going to, so what are some of the like key things? I think you hit it on the head about asking for the order. I used to work in corporate sales, right? And we always used to say, ask for the order, right? You got to ask for the deal. So yeah, so reaching out and, I've managed artists, I've worked with artists who are like just kind of sitting there waiting for the phone to ring. And it just doesn't work like that unless you have absolute massive buzz. You have songs that are, charting and everyone's playing and all that stuff. Sure, maybe the phone will ring, but other than that, you got to work for every single thing in this life, right?
Yeah, you got to hustle it. My friend, one of my friends, she's a DJ, and she absolutely hustles every gig, and I fully love her for it. Like, she'll even message, like, she'll send you little voice notes and go, "Hey, how you doing? Checking in. Just seeing if you like what's going on. I thought I'd reach out. I've not spoken in a moment, but..." And she does that to you. They're so lovely little voice notes, and you're just like, "Oh, mate, I haven't got any parties, but if I was, I'd be booking you," because like that little personal touch of just, and that she does that with probably thousands of people and thousands of little voice notes, and that's how she gets tons and tons of gigs, just by really being on it and being like the person that's really connecting with it, with all the contacts all of the time, and making the effort and making herself available, making sure that that's she's just got such a great network, but also
staying on the radar,
just being positive, being proactive and going like, I'm still here, I'm still making, I've just had this release. And sometimes it's like, hey mate, I've just had this release, it's really cool, I've released on Toolroom, it's sick, like, can you have a listen, what you think? But that little reminder is like, oh yeah, she's just released on Toolroom, she's really cool, she's got some good stuff going on, or I just dropped this new thing, I played at so and so, or I've got this new thing, and that I'm not the only one that's getting that. Like, it's like there's probably, like I said, hundreds of people getting that, and that's why you hustle it. Like,
really. And like, would you say? I mean, the single biggest factor of artists getting gigs these days, what would you attribute that to? I have my answer, but would you say it's network, talent, brand? Like, what's of the categories it could be? Is it just who you know?
I think depends on the size. Obviously, if it's right at the start of your career, it's friends book friends, so it is who you know. And I think at all levels, it is friends book friends. So like, it is like who you know in your network really is the most important. Like, you're going to get more gigs because you've been professional. Some people that you played a gig and then you've been professional. You turned up and you've been on point and you've delivered a good show, and then you get rebooked. It's definitely like how you look online. If you go on your social, have you got an engaged audience? Because let's face it, promoters want to play. Promoters are booking people because they bring bums on seats, and they sell tickets. Not whether they do it physically one-to-one. Like, Carl Cox doesn't physically go and sell lots of 5,000 tickets, but if you book Carl Cox, he's going to sell 5,000 tickets because he's Carl. Firstly, he's Carl Cox, but secondly, he's got this massive audience, and that they're going to want to come and see him play wherever he goes. So
yeah, and for those listening who don't know who Carl Cox is, one of the biggest DJs in the world for decades. Yeah, I mean, that's a point that I think we need to talk about too, right? Because you were talking, a few minutes ago about the pitch, right? Like, hey, book me, right? But it can't just be, hey, book me. It's got to be, hey, here's some value outside of, because let's be honest, talent, like the music and the talent, that's kind of table stakes, right? Everyone's a DJ now. I mean, I've played for people I play for people all the time. I've been doing this 15 years. I'm like, wow, you're actually a good DJ. And I'm like, what do you expect? And they're like, well, there's, so many DJs out there. Not everyone's good. And I'm like, well, fair. So what else does an artist need to put in their pitch beyond, hey, book me, or, whatever that else, what it is? What's the pitch? What's the sell?
Yeah, I think it'll be. I think it's always like short and sweet. Like this is what I've got going on. This is what I've got going on. This is what I've been doing recently. Here's a brand. Here's some music to listen. Here's a mix to listen to because I'm always a big fan of mixes. In
Yeah.
fact, I know some promoters that literally want to listen to a live mix. You have to send
Yeah.
a live recording from you playing actually in a venue so that and it's not a studio mix. Whereas other promoters like a studio mix. So it's like understanding what people like and actually speak
And
again. It's like
or sorry to
networking.
interrupt, but yeah, or take like a live video too, right? Not
Yeah.
just the audio, but like the video. How do you actually what kind of energy do you have on stage? What's your stage presence like? How do you engage with the audience? Right?
Yeah, and then obviously some other promoters don't care about anything about that. They just care about a really good music, and again, it's
Yeah.
like knowing who you're pitching to. So knowing what you're pitching to, and you've got like going back to that list of 100. If you've got a list of 100, certain people need live mixes. Certain people, it's all about like you're going to get picked because you've got really good releases, and that's what you're pitching with. You're tailoring each pitch to go. That one's about about Instagram audience and followers and engagement. So you're tailoring that pitch to that. Some people it's about I've had a new release and it's on this massive label and it's getting supported by this and there's quite a bit of hype going at the moment and I've got these cool videos of me playing at this other place. And some it'll be like, I've got this brand new mix and it's kind of cool. And I've got this audience and I'm building a radio show and I'm building a platform over here.
Yeah, all the above. It's funny. There's a promoter where I live, talking to him about a show, and I'm like, hey, like I'm working on updating my EPK, electronic press kit. For those who don't know, he's like, nah, it's fine. Just send me a mix, right? And then the question becomes, how many tickets can you sell? And I personally don't love that question, and it's a tricky one, right? Because you don't want to oversell, you don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, and then you don't want to give a low number, and they're like, well, that's not very many. So how would you coach an artist to even handle that question?
If it's about ticket sales, then it's kind of like if you can sell loads of tickets, then like there's some people that absolutely are just they've got loads of mates and they can sell loads of tickets, and it's like then they just go, mate, I can do 250 easily. Give me my own link. I want a kickback on every ticket, like and just go in there. But those that are, it's not about that. It's about music. Then essentially, that might not be the right booking for you, and it might be a
Yeah.
case of like, sorry, I'm going to come play because my music's great. You can see I've got an engaged audience. You can run, I can set you up so you can run dark ads against my audience using Facebook ads to help promote the event. I can do certain posts to help promote the event, but I'm not about that life. And really just to kind of trying to see if you can negotiate and kind of all of these bookings are negotiations essentially. And you're trying to get certain things and they're trying to get certain things and you're trying to get certain things. It's just about trying to always negotiate, never just kind of go nothing, because that's where you kind of don't go forward. Like always trying to go back with some negotiation.
I agree. That's a great tip. Cool. Well, thank you. So let's get into some of some of what you've seen over the years and sort of how you help artists get over what are some of the biggest roadblocks? What are some of the biggest reasons that supremely talented artists never make it?
Why don't they make it? Oh man, it's just some of it. Do you know what? Some of it is patience. Like I've had some artists that want to send music to big labels, and then you send it to them, and 3 weeks go by, and they're like, and then the label will come back and go, the track's gone, and then you go to the artist and they go, yeah, I took it down after a week. I couldn't wait any longer, and you're like, dude, I literally like. You just got to be patient. You've got to kind of let them some track. If you want to go to big labels, some tracks got to sit with the label. The other thing with big labels, if you're going to a big label, is right now you need to know the data. And we've literally looked at big labels and looked at their last 10 releases and looked at the artists that are releasing on those labels, and their monthly listeners are probably around 1 million. And if you're only got 10,000, forget it.
Mm-hmm.
Like just the business is not working for you. Like we've spoke to record labels in those big zones, and they're going, I love that artist music. They make great music. I can't sign them. The numbers don't stack up.
So labels, yeah. I mean, this is definitely something I want to talk to you about is labels, and we can go into this now, right? So I guess the answer to your question, to my question, around like biggest mistake or why don't artists make it is patience. Are there any other reasons for someone who's really talented for just not getting where they you feel like they should be?
I think they don't. Some just don't want to play the social game and play the audience game. And I think it's not really a social game; it's an audience game. You've got to grow an audience that want to see you and book you and come and watch you play and stream your music. So, again, there's extremely talented people that my music does the talking. Well, it doesn't. Your audience want to listen to you. And if your audience don't know you exist, then your music is not doing any talking.
That's the soundbite right there.
It's basically whispering in the corner.
Yeah,
I'm here.
yeah.
So that's a big one. Some people they're, as much as they try, they've got great music, but they just can't get the content together. They just can't get it together, and that's definitely going to hinder, because the best music in the world, and you've got audience. Again, you've not got any audience. You're just not going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Some is just not some is they get in their own way a little bit. There's an artist I know that would release a load and then wouldn't get on the bigger labels, and essentially would then go into a kind of a mindset thing where, I'm not getting signed to any labels at all, and I'm just going to stop for 6 to 12 months, and I'll come back to it when I've reset my brain. And essentially that reset, every time they've done that, has then dropped them further back. If you think there's a hype curve, you're just every release and every kind of thing you do is building on your hype, and it's just kind of staggering up on a graph. And if you then stop everything, then you're just resetting yourself back to zero, and you then got to start again, and you've got to learn all the labels and learn what people are signing, and instead of just kind of going, right, I can't get on the labels I want to go, I'm just going to release on some labels in the mid tier, because they're still great labels and they're still going to put me forward and they're still going to give me stuff to talk about and still push me forward. They then disappear, and then every time they do that, they've got to restart, and then they're even more frustrated because they're not going any forward, and they're not as far as they were forward the last time because they've just disappeared for 12 months.
It's like what we were saying before. It's consistency and experimentation, right?
Yeah.
So continuing down a path of putting things out, music, yourself, the content, all that, and then experimenting with what works and what doesn't work. I think there's something to be said about some self-awareness too. You're right. You mentioned looking at the data, right? Being aware of where you are in this space, in this world, right? You might have great music, but you're saying maybe that some of these labels are looking for more than just the music. They're looking for the numbers, they're looking for the buzz, the stats online, things like that, right? And is that, pretty important in your experience with these labels?
100%. The big labels, it's the music business. It's music and business. So you need the music to work and the business to work. So if you've not got the monthly listeners and you're not getting the streams, then these big labels, they literally cannot work with you, because you're not going to do the business for them. And once you understand that, then you go, right, I'll drop down and I'll make my numbers right, and I'll continuously growing, so that I can work to the bigger label and work with the bigger labels, or I'll collab with someone and pull in lots of numbers. And you see it with pop music all the time. With pop music, they're literally, some of those are you can tell they're engineered because they've just got 4 big names on it, and that's all about numbers. And some of it will be making a great record, but most of the time it'll all be about numbers. And the other thing with consistency is just sometimes you've just got to keep turning up. And I say this so much, I'm just going to turn up every single day and do something. And we do this thing like a 1% logger, just can I just do 1% something every day, and just log it down and just kind of keep growing forward. And sometimes you're going to turn up and you're going to feel like nothing's going to happen, and you're going to feel like this I've had this for months, where I've just been like, nothing's happening, but I'm just going to keep turning up, because I know that if I keep turning up, I'm making something happen. And then all of a sudden something big will happen, because a lot of people have been watching, a lot of people have been kind of keeping an eye on you, and a lot of people have been kind of going, okay, I should work with this person. And they all just kind of compound and happen at once. And that kind of compound interest of you turning up every single day and just doing something and pushing your career forward, just something. And also just being the person that cheers yourself on, and you look around and go, oh yeah, it's me. I'm cheering myself on again. And I'm just going to keep doing that.
Yeah.
Without needing someone to go, okay, nothing's happening, but I'm just going to keep turning up. And if you do that, you will go forward, and you will keep going forward.
Yes. Amen. I mean, I have my little clanks here. That's absolutely true. Just keep putting in the work, show up every day, keep putting in the effort because things will work out, and you have to believe in yourself. You know, you have to have a bit of a plan. You have to be a little delusional, you know, and the 1%, you know, every day, just get a little bit better every day. Open up Ableton and or whatever your DAW is, and you know, even if fart sounds come out, at least you you know, try to put in some work there. You post some content, maybe it doesn't work, but at least you're posting the content, right? You've mentioned content a few times, and I mean, it's crazy how, like, how would you define the role of content in the world of music and art and creatives? Like, what is, it's still this battle years later, right? With a lot of people, the ones who get it, they get it. The ones who fight it or complain about it, or they haven't figured it out yet. So what is the role, right? And is it really that much of an advantage for the ones who, you know, consistently put an effort into it versus the ones who don't?
I mean, there's a blueprint to it, isn't there? There's like literally, you know, if you make music and you put it out and you shout about it and build an audience, you will go forward. Like if you look at like the biggest artists in the world, you know, that have broke in the last 4 or 5 years, they consistently put good music out. They consistently turn up with great music, but they also consistently have been building an audience and putting out content and just doing the things they need to do. I'm always a big thinker of like, you know, content has been, you know, the biggest artists in the world have always had a visual to their music. If you think like Yellow Submarine, like the biggest band in the world ever, had a visual.
Who's that by? Who?
Had a visual to that album, and it was absolutely sick. Like that would have been content. That would have been classed as content when the Beatles put that track out. Like Madonna always had a visual to her music. Like Michael Jackson did. Like even like Bicep today, their visual of what they do is sick. The Chemical Brothers, you know, theirs is always about lasers and big robots and crazy shit. Fatboy Slim again, like weird shit, and just it's always a visual to the music.
And that's branding, right? Like that's a part of branding, right?
100%.
And you know what I always say, and I'm sure you would echo this too, is you know, music marketing, promotion, visuals. That's not new. It's decades old. It's been around for a long, long time. Social media is just a way to amplify those efforts, right? And it's a free tool. It's a free tool, right? And it just
100%. Otherwise, you go back to like if you go back to those days, then it, you know, there was 4 record labels and they released 12 records a year, and you can go back to that option, and you've got to fight for one of those 12 records, and maybe that's a better option, but maybe it's not going to go back to that. You know, DJs. You know, when I started working at a nightclub, the way you got a gig was you went and stood outside a club at 5 a.m. to go and hand out CDs and build an audience that way. You only reached those people that was coming out the club, and you literally only meet them one to one. And maybe they took a CD, and maybe they didn't throw it on the floor, and maybe they forgot who it was. And you know, now you can put a mix up in your pants on SoundCloud on a Sunday morning because you've done a mix that was wicked, and you want to get it out there, and it can reach thousands of people. You know.
Millions, really, if you do it the right way.
Exactly.
Yeah, it just boggles my mind, I think, again, and I don't know if it's a mindset thing or what it is, but you know, artists will spend months, years potentially working on their music, and then they'll put out the song and they think it's done, you know, it's over, and it's like, why aren't you screaming about this? Or they think that's
the starting point.
I know, but so many don't. So you got to tell them, Graham. You got to tell them what happens after that, because, you know, I've seen it too with polished artists. They do shoot high quality, you know, music videos somewhere around the world. Maybe they'll post like 1 or 2 videos, and like, yeah, aesthetically it's beautiful, but like, if that's all you're doing, there's such a gap, and there's a reason why you're not further along. So the starting point is releasing the music. Then what are we doing after?
I always think like if you spend all that time making that track, like new artists and small artists, they spend so much time like finding plugins, learning Ableton, learning how to make a track, learning how to produce, learning how to, you know, get it mixed and mastered, and going to demo feedbacks and turning up, and then they spend hours and hours making one record, and then they spend 2 minutes promoting it, and you're just like,
yeah,
what? You owe it to yourself to spend as much time as you did making it to promote the track, so as many people hear it, so listen to it. Like,
what's the hang up though? Is it like a lack of understanding of how things work, or is it where's the drop off?
I definitely think it is like you see the kind of surface level social media and you see people doing TikTok dances and you go, I don't want to do that. The amount of times I've seen comments going, I'm not doing a TikTok dance. And you're like, you don't have to. Like I actually was speaking on a panel at the weekend and this person literally just started producing and I'd opened their social media as well. And they literally started producing like the last 2 months. And they were like, I don't know what to post on social media. Should I be posting on social media? Like, I'm not getting any views. And we were like, firstly, there's essentially three options here. Like, one, put social media down, get the product right, and just literally make music, and just make it until you're ready to talk about that music. The second one is like you're in a really nice space. Just go and make as much content as possible and try as much as possible because no one's seeing you fail. Like
Yeah.
everyone's too busy with themselves, let alone they care about whether you're failing and whether you're getting no views. If you're getting no views, then you're essentially testing to see all the things that don't work. And the third option is why don't you just start making a post every single day that starts off making a track until I get signed by, insert your favorite label. Hot
Hmm.
Creations, for instance, making a track till Jamie Jones sees my Instagram and signs my track to Hot Creations. Today I did this. And that's literally your strategy every single day. Making it to, day 2 of making a track until I get signed to Hot Creations. Day 3 of making a track. And today I worked on my drums and I watched a load of YouTube videos and I worked on my drums. Day 4 of making a track till I get signed to Hot Creations. Well, today I really was just not feeling it and I'm really feel negative and I really don't like social media and I really don't like doing this, but I'm going to carry on doing it. But this is how I'm feeling today.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, you say it and it sounds so easy and simple, but then when it comes time to do it, it's just like again, they either skip the step or they just I don't know. It's like this concept of like they want it all, but they don't want to like work for it. I don't know if I don't know because I don't know if you see that in your world. I see it sometimes in my world. Um, I recently met somebody who made $1,000 from a music video he made because he paywalled it and he asked his fans to pay $1 minimum to view it. He made $1,000 from it, and
Nice.
I'm like, why aren't more artists going direct to consumer? I posed this question on Threads, and you know what the most common word I heard back was in the replies? Got a lot of replies. What do you think the most common word was?
Don't know how. Why should
Hard.
I?
Hard.
Yeah.
Hard. It's hard. Okay, but then you're going to complain about not making money from your music. You're going to complain about, the low payouts from all the streaming platforms, but you don't want to put an effort to converting listeners to fans to paying people. It's like it's a weird twisted industry that we work in, right?
Yeah, and I mean, if you're all about making money, if you're all about getting more people to listen to your music, but also making a revenue, then like I would I would distribute through SoundCloud because the payouts are better from their distribution platform, and I'd do a Bandcamp strategy, and I'd literally make that work. And my content would all be about that, and I wouldn't go after a Beatport number one, and I wouldn't go after X amount. I would just work on the platforms that pay out the best, or I'd
Yeah.
build a YouTube channel build a YouTube channel that is all about music production and making tracks, and then I'd turn that into something. It's all about your goals and then building out the strategy from there.
Again,
And a
and
lot
then
and a lot of people don't really look at like where they start looking at their goals, but they don't really look at like I always think like when you're looking at goals, you need to start where you are right now. Like you don't get in the car and go, I'm going to this destination, but you need to put the start destination in first. You always put the start destination into your map and your Google Maps, so then you put your final destination, and it gives you the directions. Like start where you are now. What am I doing right now? Where am I at right now? And what am I trying to achieve? And then you can go, right, what do I want to go forward to? And we actually just built this really cool AI tool that actually helps them like looks at goals. It's called the Artist Accelerator. It's on artistaccelerator.net. And essentially, literally, it's going to ask you a load of questions and it's going to give you a 12-month plan for free to help you understand where you're trying to get to. It asks you where you are now. And it literally uses AI to kind of go, so everyone's answers are different and everyone's plans are different. And essentially, like, my plan might be different to your plan because I've got different scenarios and different things going on, and another artist is different to another artist, and it really, really helps like work out where you are now and where you're trying to get to, and then build you a 12-month plan to help you put some direction in your life, and it's all for free.
You're going to put me out of business, man. What are you doing? um, that's great. That's great. But again, what I'm experiencing, and maybe you're not seeing it, is like artists skip the goals. They're skipping the foundational steps around like, what do I actually want to accomplish? What's my why? What's my, mission? All this stuff. And they just jump to right to like, I want people to hear my music. I want people to see me live. I talked to a band a week ago that has played over 200 shows, and all they can do is sell 10 to 15 tickets. And they don't even know who they are. So why should others care? And they haven't actually sat down as a band to do that foundational work and have those discussions. So how do they know, to your point about, where do we want to go or how do we get there when we don't even know who we are and what we stand for?
Yeah, the usual one is I'll make music and I'll wing it. Like I'll go and sit in the studio, make some music. If that lands, and then I'll wing it from there. And usually that's like, okay, but where are you trying to get to? Because then it sort of helps with your content. I always think it's like if you know where you're trying to get to and you know your stories and what you're about, and then you're going to make better music because you're going to write from like from where you're at, and like that's why I always like I always think like those first albums of people, they're always the best because they just have all that time and they just sit and work out where they're at and they sit with their feelings and they sit like they've not got any of the touring pressure. They're not trying to do everything. They're just sitting and making music, and then you get a really, really good album out of it and a really, really good pieces of music out of it. And then once it kind of kicks off, that's why always the second album is a bit shit because it's like because they've got so much more going on then, and you've got you kind of put all this energy into the first one.
Sophomore slump. One of my main questions is, this is blowing by our time here, but one of my questions I really wanted to ask you, you mentioned labels a lot, right? What is the role of a label today? How important do you think they are still for artists? Do you have any value? Do you ever recommend artists go, self-release or anything like that? What's your mindset around labels these days?
I think that I run 5 labels, so I think they're great. I always think it's a collaboration between you and the label. Like they're going to put the music out, and they're going to give you their audience, they're going to give you their marketing, they're going to give their experience, but also you're going to bring all of your audience and your you to this collaboration. And essentially, it's artist driven on Spotify and Apple Music and all the streaming platforms and all the DSPs. So you have to lead the charge. And if you know where you're about and you've got a kind of idea for the marketing and you know what how we can kind of push that release as well, that's just going to push the release even further. But as it comes to self-releasing, I do think that you want to keep that consistency the whole time. So when you're pitching to labels and you're not hearing back, having a way that you can go, I'm going to release in between the releases, so that if you've made 10, 15 tracks and you've got 3 or 4 signed, and then you're sitting waiting for a label, the ability to be able to release a track in between and just keep stuff moving, whether it's a free download on SoundCloud or whether it's an actual official release on Spotify and the DSPs. I think the strategy is for those artists especially in the space that's between like 10,000 monthly listeners and 500,000 monthly listeners, like you just want to keep consistent and consistently releasing every 4 to 6 weeks, whether that's a label release or a self-release or a free download or it's the consistency that's going to keep going you forward.
Yeah. Thanks for that. What's a harsh truth about building a music career that most artists aren't ready to hear?
I think like no one's coming to help you. Like no one's coming to save you. No one's coming to be your manager. No one's coming to book you. And in fact, really, no one really cares about your music or you apart from you. Like until you make them care enough, and you do that by turning up all the time, and you do that by releasing consistency and building a strong audience that actually are into you. But always remember that literally no one cares about you. They're too busy caring about themselves and what they're doing, and you've literally got to break the door down between you and them to make them care about you as an artist. And that's from telling a good story and building them into your world, and really real well building up what you're about and knowing who you're about and what you're trying to go forward with.
You know what? I just remembered something. You're not the first English person I've had on the show, because my friend Tom Astley, I don't know if you know him, manager, event producer out in LA. Also said the same thing, word for word. Nobody cares. He said those same words. I guess you are the first person live from England, though, right? So that's the difference.
Cool.
Thank you for that.
I still think it the same. Like my content, I still like, and for data transmission, I still think like no one really cares about us. We're just going to keep putting out records, and we're going to keep putting out premieres and keep building. DTs are continuous. Like we're 18 years old now. I still think no one cares. And anyway, I met some people at the weekend, and they were like, "I love data transmission." We're like, "Oh man, that's cool." But honestly, I still wake up in the morning and go, "Right, we're going to push forward. We're going to build some more numbers. We're going to build some more audience. We're going to push into this platform a bit more." And but still, no one cares, and we're just going to kind of keep doing our thing and hope that people do start caring.
But people do care, because you guys, I mean, you've been around, you've been an institution for so long, you've been a go-to source. I know that I can go to your page, click play on a mix. I've done it while I'm going skiing and things like that. I know that I'm going to hear good music because the brand is strong, and you pick artists who are strong, and whether they're up and comers or established names, these mixes are go-tos. Easy. It's a no-brainer, right? So you're very, like I said in the beginning, you're vulnerable. You're humble, I guess. And somebody messaged me today asking when the full set for my show last weekend is going to be up on YouTube, and I'm like, I don't know if anyone's ever asked me that before. I'm like, okay, cool.
Nice.
So it's nice to hear those things. A few more questions, then I'll let you get on with your evening here. What's something that artists are doing right now that will hurt them long term?
Hurt them long term. I don't know if there is a hurt long term, unless it's like I guess hurt them long term is going to be, creating fires that you don't need to create, like burning bridges you don't need to burn, like you're turning up and being unprofessional. You're taking it, you're turning up to a set late, or you're turning up and playing longer than your allotted time, so that you're basically being a dick, and that's going to hurt you long term. That's always going to help you, and because there's like you say, there's millions of people that want to DJ, and there's millions of options, and if you're not turning up these days and essentially being the most professional person in the room, then that's going to hurt you.
That's a great one. What's advice artists hear all the time that you think is actually bad advice?
What's advice bad?
I like making you think a little bit here.
Yeah. What's bad advice?
Just stuff you hear often that like you don't necessarily agree with. You said before you like when people push you a little bit. What's something you're pushing back on?
Yeah, like I think what's bad advice? Let's think about this. Like,
or advice you don't agree with. It could be subjective.
I'm not sure.
Like, I don't know. For me, it would be something like, but I think maybe around like opportunities and saying what you're saying yes and no to. I think that's also something that can hurt or help your long-term career, right? Saying yes to gigs just to say yes. But really thinking, does this, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Again, I think like with that, like, yeah. So what's bad advice? Bad advice.
Like what's something we hear so often in the industry, people saying it in their store, in their posts, or, giving advice constantly. I always think too that like a lot of people think just running ads is going to create create fans for you. Ads are this magic bullet, that's going to create this fan base who comes screaming and running like the Beatles fans back in the day. That's not the case, right? We could skip that. We could come back to that one.
No, I think what's bad advice? Bad advice is always like there's a lot of bad advice where people aren't like really, really up to date. I was part of something, and I was listening to somebody else give advice on a social media subject, and I was just like, that's a year behind where you should be. Like if you're gonna, I always think like if you're gonna give advice to something, you need to be really, really on point with literally knowing every platform inside out, which is definitely like for the artist blueprint. Like I said, I literally test. Nothing goes in the blueprint without me testing it fully, and we test everything on ourselves essentially, and try and make sure it works before we advise it. And I think there's a lot of people that kind of they think they should give, social media advice or career advice, and the advice they're giving is 6-12 months behind, and therefore you're getting advice that's just wrong. I do agree with the ads thing. Like, you can't polish a turd. And if it's a shit piece of content, it's a shit piece of content. And if you put ad spend behind it, you're basically just
wasting dollars.
Money. Yeah, wasting money.
What without giving away your course for free? Like, what's one thing that you've tested and that you've really come out and something you're comfortable sharing that you've tested, and you say, I'm putting this in the blueprint? Maybe it's something recent, maybe it's something that's been there since the beginning. What's like one thing you want to maybe give away?
Do you know, the one thing we've been testing recently is like the storytelling stuff, which is like, I'm working out like good ways of writing stories and kind of writing, like, I've got a kind of a 5-line. Let me just bring it back up because
let's hear it.
I'm still trying to, when you're like, let me just get it up.
Let's just get it up, Graham.
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about the 3 Gs.
Oh, I can talk about that. Oh my God, that's so funny. Like, do you know how that started?
The 3 Gs?
Yeah.
I don't. It's and for those listening, it's gather, give, grow from his book. How did it start?
It's actually. Hang on a minute. I'm trying to find it.
I'm asking you to figure out 2 questions at once.
I know, it's amazing, isn't it? Hang on, I've got it. Let me just. So I'll do the 3 Gs because that's really, really easy. Whilst I just look up this, whilst I just refresh my brain, it's getting late here, and I'm honestly getting a bit tired.
It's okay. We've milked you for all you got.
Yeah. So 3 Gs, basically, the Gather, Give and Grow. I saw this piece of content on Instagram, and they had like the 3 E's of growing on Instagram, and I was like, oh, I quite like that. Like, I quite like there's 3. I quite like the E's, the kind of the letter behind it. And I was like, well, my name doesn't begin with an E, it begins with a G. So what are 3 Gs that essentially could be, similar, but it begins with G, not E. And that's really all it is. Like, I just like
for your name.
My name begins with a G, and that was it basically. And
hey, my last name's Gilman, so it kind of works out in different ways. Well, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. I know we could talk for hours, but you're tired.
Here's my 5-line story format.
Okay, let's get it.
Okay, so if you're going to write stories for Instagram and your social media, then you can literally use this 5-line story arc, and it works for Reels. First one, basically you're going to write a line of your story for each one of these points. So the first one is the situation, like, set the scene. Where are you? What are you doing? And what were you doing? The second point is the problem. Something either goes wrong or you realize something's not working. And that could be something that's like external. It could be something internal with you, like something's not working. Then there's always a turning point. Like, you try something different, you learn something new happens. What was that? Then there's the result. So what happened after you made that change? And then there's a takeaway, which is always the takeaway for the audience. What was the lesson out of this story? Mm-hmm. And if you use those 5 lines and those 5 points, you can write a lot of stories. Now, if you start thinking about those, that from, let's pick a movie. Let's pick like Finding Nemo. We've all seen Finding Nemo. Like, the situation. There's the barracuda at the start. And that's the situation. The family have just had the babies. The barracuda's there. That's a situation. Right. What's the problem? Well, the problem is they're going to get eaten. That's an external problem. This thing is going to eat you. And shit, what am I going to do? Obviously, there's a turning point. He defends it. He flaps it. He scares the barracuda off. And that's the turning point. The result was, well, unfortunately, she got eaten a lot of, like, the kids got eaten, and there was a change because he's now on his own. He's now got Nemo, and that's it. And the lesson for the audience, I guess, is like they were kind of comfortable, and they were kind of like, he definitely learned a lot, and he's definitely going to learn a lot going forward because he's now a single dad, and he's now got to look after his child, and he's now got to change the way he thinks a bit. And this is the lessons he's learning from being in this situation, you know. But then you start applying it for the DJ point of view. Like, I got to a set, I just turned up to the set, like, and my USBs wouldn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I'm in there. Like, what happened straight away, you know?
Yeah, it's true, and using real life examples or examples of things or people that you can use to sort of create that model arc. You have the blueprint, and then you use examples to kind of tell that story. Then you figure out your own. I do that with artists with their branding all the time. It's like, how do you describe your brand? How, why should people come see you live? Well, okay, you don't know that stuff yet. Pick a couple of your favorite artists. How would you pitch, coming to see their show to a friend who doesn't know them? Why should your friend spend time or money on them? That kind of stuff. So yeah, using examples of things you know really well and then using it back on yourself is a great strategy. So thank you for sharing that nugget. And for those listening, if you're interested in the artist blueprint with Grahame and data transmission and his whole brand, then you know what to do. Do you want to plug your retreat happening too?
Yeah, I'm super excited about this. Like, we have found, I wanted to do this for a long time. I've been on a few retreats, and they're always like focused on DJing or music production. And obviously I'm really good at content, and I love making content. And for a while we've looking for a space, and I've actually found somewhere that's literally across town from me. It's right in the middle of the English countryside. It's absolutely lovely. Right in the middle of nowhere as well. Like, it's a beautiful part of the world. And essentially it's this house. There 7 people can come and stay in. It's got a full banging studio.
Yeah, nice.
It's got a DJ room, and it's completely soundproof, so you can whack it up. And even if it did spill out sound, you're still in the middle of nowhere. Like, it's got an area in the back where you can, like, literally we can put a DJ set that faces out into the fields, and we can do a live stream and YouTube videos and make YouTube content. But basically, you're facing the fields and you're blasting out to the fields. And again, turn it up because there's no one around. But
I love that.
But we're also going to look at like I've got some killer guests. I've got East End Dubs, who's a really, really good producer, really good DJ. I've got his head of videography who makes all of his content. He's going to come and teach you how to use your iPhone to make better content, to record better content, to video better content when you're performing, but also really, really level up your editing. My friend Carly Wilford is like one of the presenters of Tomorrowland Radio. Like, me and her have hustled so much, and she's a G.
I saw her speak at ADE last year.
She presents like there's like, every time I see her present, I always think I want to be able to present like you.
Yeah.
And she's going to come and teach them how to hold themselves on camera and speak better on camera and present themselves better on camera. So they say better stuff, and they they just look better on camera. And really, really talk about presenting, and kind of from the skills that she's built over, she started on Rinse back in the day, and now she's like one of the faces of Tomorrowland Radio.
Amazing.
So, and then obviously we're going to look at like ideas, and we're going to spend a lot of time working on the ideas. And then we've got all this space where we can shoot content, and then we're going to teach you how to edit it. And really, like, the idea is you come away with like 6 months worth of content and tons of ideas that you're just going to keep repeating and formats you can use again and again and again to get the best content.
That's incredible. Well, the artists who are going to that are going to be lucky people, and they're going to be pros with content, because if you haven't learned anything from this little session today, this chat, it's content matters, and it's a big, big advantage if you know how to do it. So thank you, Grahame, so much. We're just going to smile and look at the camera real quick, and we use that for our little promo, for our own promo for this, and I'll let you be on your way. So 3, 2, 1.
I feel weird.
I know, it's weird, right? Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much. This has been the Racket House Podcast, episode 25. Grahame Farmer, go check him out. He is a legend, and I appreciate you spending time with me today. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Dude.
Peace.